Good day, it's April 15th, 2023. The series of separate mass shootings in America keeps happening as Republican-led states continue to ignore the dangers these automatic firearms are to its citizens and constituents. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban.
The recent deaths from mass shootings in the U.S. has Republican legislators in states like Indiana, Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky silent towards demand for sensible gun control legislations.
The shooting this week at the Old National Bank in downtown Louisville, Kentucky by 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon resulted in the death of 4 individuals inside the bank and 8 others injured before the gunman was killed by the police responding to the incident during a shootout with the gunman.
In Nashville, Tennessee, late last month, a school shooting at an elementary school by an assailant who went to the school and killed 6 people, including a 9-year-old. A report from CBS News after the Nashville school shooting shows that, according to the Center for Disease Control, at least 1,473 people died in Tennessee in the year 2020.
At least 18 states in the United States has gun control laws in mostly Democratic-leaning states. The inability to legislate against high-powered military assault rifles in Republican-led states shows that these officials feel no moral responsibilities to its citizens except their allegiance to the gun lobby or the NRA, the National Rifle Association.
If you have attended a private college, many of them are technical or specialty private colleges. This news may affect your college loan. The U.S. Supreme Court yesterday handed down a decision that $6 billion in student loan relief can move forward. This was a result of an appeal by several private educational corporations who asked to block a lower court from forgiving these student loans, obtained by around 200,000 borrowers. The U.S. government, who guarantees these loans, wanted to forgive these loans, but the private colleges through whom these loans were obtained by students blocked the implementation and appealed it. This case is separate from the recent appeal by the U.S. Department of Justice in the Supreme Court to proceed with loan forgiveness program of the Biden administration, which was blocked by Republican lawmakers and governors in a court case. But the Supreme Court decision yesterday was about a class action lawsuit filed by students in these private colleges that the loan were obtained based on misrepresentation by these colleges. Private colleges like Corinthians Education Company, who operated Hill Colleges, Everest, and White Tech Colleges, have closed in 2015 after filing for bankruptcy. Corinthians were among the appellants in the case, which was ruled in favor of borrower students in a decision by the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined by a Philippine lawyer who is a familiar name in the news media in the Philippines, who had represented entertainment personalities and politicians in court. So please stick around.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
To producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to The Pulse. With us now here at FilAmTV studio is Attorney Faye Isaguirre Singson, a high-profile lawyer in the Philippines who practices criminal defense, mostly involving elected government officials, former government officials and politicians, and entertainment celebrities in civil cases. Attorney Faye Singson, thank you for making yourself available to join us here at The Pulse. You have represented, among others, Senator Manny Pacquiao, Senator Bong Revilla, Senator Jingo Estrada, and also that famous case of Janet Napoles. Am I correct?
To a certain extent, yes, Uncle Sam, with certain limitations.
Yes.
Insofar as representation is concerned. But first of all, Uncle Sam, I'd like to thank you for having me in your show, The Pulse, here at Fil-Ams studio. It's an extraordinary experience while visiting Las Vegas.
Well, we feel so good about, you're agreeing to come to talk to us today. It's really, it's a good thing for that you could come. So my question,
the honor is mine, Uncle Sam.
Yes, that's good. I will only ask a few questions, but at any point you don't feel comfortable answering the question, you just say that,
I object.
That you can just say you're not comfortable answering that question. Would that be fair enough?
Fair enough, Uncle
All right.
Sam.
Let me premise this one for the first question. You must have heard that former President Donald Trump had been indicted criminally in New York, a state level case. And like more are coming for any alleged criminal act in the state of Georgia and in Washington, D.C. My question is, has there ever been a former Philippine president that was charged criminally on a case, just indicted, not necessarily convicted?
Before I answer your question, Uncle Sam, I'd just like to give a personal trivia.
Okay.
During the arraignment of President Trump, I was also in New York last Tuesday. But of course, only by chance.
The timing was,
Yes. And when we went to the Washington, we saw the convoy of Joe Biden coming out of the palace.
That was nice.
Yes. So to answer your question, Uncle Sam, based on Philippine history, actually recent history, there are 2 former Philippine presidents who had been charged and actually went on trial.
Okay.
Namely, former President Joseph Estrada and former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. In common, they were charged with plunder, among other charges.
Yes.
And plunder is a back home, it's considered a heinous crime. So if you will allow me to elucidate,
Please do.
yeah, the case of former President Erap, he was convicted, but later on, after several months, was given executive clemency by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. After after the term of PGMA ended, she herself was charged and indicted, and also convicted. And when the matter was raised and elevated to the Supreme Court, it was reversed, and she was acquitted eventually.
So in essence, former President Joseph Estrada was actually charged and convicted, but what we call here, they got a presidential pardon
Yes.
from President Gloria Arroyo.
That's right, Uncle
Okay,
Sam.
that makes sense.
And in
Now-
the case of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, she was acquitted.
She was acquitted in the appeals
In the
court,
Supreme
the
Court.
Supreme Court. Okay. Now talking about the the U.S. Supreme Court, we have 9 members, 9 justices in the United States Supreme Court. How many justices are there in the Philippine Supreme Court at the present?
We are following now, we're governed by the 1987 Constitution. And the portion there that tells of the composition of the Philippine Supreme Court is that we have 1 Chief Justice and 14 Associate Justices. So total of 15.
Okay. Are the justices in the Philippines, they're also conferred by the Senate, right?
Yes.
The Philippine Senate, like ours, are conferred by the U.S. Senate, chosen by the President, but had to be conferred by the Senate. That's the same process over there, right? Yeah.
Not necessarily, Uncle Samuel. We'll have to make very little
distinction, yeah.
modifications or distinctions. They go through a process. They submit the applications through what we call the Judicial and Bar Council.
All right.
From a list of applicants, the JBC, the Judicial and Bar Council, will submit a short list of at least 3 applicants for that position. And the shortlisted names will be submitted to the President, who then appoints, who makes the appointment.
And then a Senate hearing is made for the confirmation.
No need for,
no more need.
insofar as the judiciary is concerned, there's no need.
Oh, okay. So it's
There's a judicial independence
Oh, I see.
and fiscal autonomy, if I may say.
That is interesting, really. I didn't know that because I thought, appointments like that had to be with the consent and the confirmation of the Senate.
Insofar as the executive department is concerned, that is necessary.
Like
Uncle
the
Sam.
department heads,
like the cabinet secretaries.
Cabinet secretaries. It's clear to me now. We are also. You were also a former prosecutor before going into the private practice in criminal defense. What kind of challenges, difficulties does Philippine prosecutors face every day in terms of resources and support from their superiors?
Let me make a clarification, Uncle Sam, insofar as the duties and responsibilities of prosecutors, to which I was, to a position I once held. I was a special prosecutor vis-a-vis a prosecutor of the Department of Justice. I was under the Office of the Ombudsman, Office of the Special Prosecutor. And we run after erring government officials, particularly in my case, high-ranking government officials, former or incumbent. So you asked me earlier about the challenges.
Yes.
And I will be forthright. Real talk.
Yes.
There is really a political pressure insofar as prosecuting high-profile cases of high-ranking officials are concerned. Not that we give in easily. On the contrary, that's where the pressure comes in.
I see.
Because we had to do our job. But you know, in Philippine culture, in Philippine setting, again, real talk, sometimes patronage comes in.
I see. So it's the office of the ombudsman, for which you were like an investigator, special prosecutor. That is not under the Department of Justice, right? It's a constitutional body.
Yes, that's right. As I mentioned earlier, Uncle Sam, the Department of Justice has their own set of prosecutors.
Yes, like you know, the equivalent here of like you know, the U.S. attorney's offices in different districts. Okay, that's on the federal level, and in the state level we have the county district attorney. Now, going back to that, I was gonna ask you, because I've been asked a few times by Philippine lawyers, what is a special counsel that they keep hearing about in the U.S. justice system. So the special counsel it makes that particular investigator or prosecutor separate from the executive department. So like now we have special counsel Jack Smith, who is investigating the January 6th riot and investigating President Donald Trump. What it is like the person now investigating on sensitive, you know, subjects like a former president, you know. It's not the first time that, you know, there had been like a special counsel. It started even in the Nixon. There was a high-profile investigating the Nixon tapes. There was a guy named Jaworski was the special counsel or special prosecutor. And in the time of and Trump, there has been, this is like the second special counsel that had been appointed. First, there was the Robert Mueller, who was investigating the wrongdoing concerning dealing with Ukraine, and now Jack Smith, who is a former prosecutor in the International Crimes Commission in The Hague, is now the one investigating Donald Trump for the January 6th riot and all the efforts to criminal efforts to reverse President Biden's election. So I would say it's it could be like in the Philippine setting, which probably not provided in any law in the books or the Constitution. That is the equivalent of like the ombudsman.
I can say so, Uncle
is,
Sam.
you know, is not attached to the Justice Department.
No,
so,
not at all.
because it's a constitutional body.
It's an
so-
independent body. It's the
independent
watchdog.
body. Okay.
Watchdog agency of the government.
Yes, I could imagine that's the only one. That's the one that the Philippines have. Than in here in the United States, where the Justice Department will assign a special prosecutor under the Office of Special Counsel, which is not a permanent position. It's like as the need arises, to create the semblance that the Justice Department has nothing to do, with the actual investigation. It separates the Justice Department from the executive branch, like the president, and he's the boss of all the executive agencies, executive branch agencies. So, all right, that has you know, it makes me keep thinking that is the only way, or one of the way the Philippine government can function in investigations like we have here as special counsel, is through the ombudsman. I was
Which
gonna
really
ask
is
you-
an independent
It's
body.
an independent body. Thank you. Is there like a special court of jurisdiction for former government employees or government officials and employees who are charged with criminal misconduct involving corruptions or and other crimes? Is there like a special
Special court.
court of jurisdiction?
Yes, says Uncle Sam, But that's what we call the Batas Pambansa 129 as amended and other applicable laws, creating the Sandigan Bayan. The Sandigan Bayan is a special court. It's a collegial court which tries and hears criminal cases, and including civil cases of forfeiture of government officials.
I see.
Primarily, government officials are charged before the Sandigan Bayan.
I see.
Private individuals will only be charged if there is an allegation of conspiracy.
Okay. If they're part of the conspiracy, even a private individual, not a former employee or an incumbent government employee, can be included in the charge, and still it will be in the jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan.
That's right, Uncle Sam. And if you will allow me to amplify,
Yeah, please do.
the jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan is those whose salary grade is from 27 up, meaning high-ranking officials.
Okay. Is that be the equivalent of like a section chief or department head?
Department head probably, and in the executives, the mayor or
okay.
the councilors.
I see. So even
So
at
the barangay captains, barangay officials, they are tried in the regular trial courts.
Okay. So from city council members of both municipal, either municipal or metropolitan city, right? They will be under the category to be tried in the Sandigan Bayan.
Assistant secretary, the rank of assistant secretary is included.
Okay, like in the executive branch department, like
Yes.
the assistant secretary
Secretary,
of the
the-
public works,
Yes,
highways, or department of health. Okay, all right. Now, this probably will be my last question, but feel free to, to say anything that could inform our, Fil-Am audience. The tenet of law practice is that even an accused who may have committed a serious crime, they still deserve a defense attorney as part of the administration of justice in the democratic process in a democratic country. Are you going to continue build that niche, defending accused government officials or former government officials?
To presume one is innocent until proven guilty.
That's also true.
That's right, Uncle Sam. That's the cornerstone of the right of a person being accused. He must be, strike him if you may, but you have to hear him first.
That's right. So it's the normal, due process in a, and it's not only in a democratic society, but it's a humane society.
Yes.
In terms of, the basic right, the basic human right of a person is to the right to be heard, and in order for them to be heard, they also need appropriate or sufficient representation, legal representation of an attorney. Okay?
And before we can assume that he should be heard, he should be first be notified that charges are being filed against him. And he should be fully appraised of what are the charges being leveled against him, so that he may fully prepare for his defense.
Yeah, that is correct. I agree with that. I understand that the Miranda rule that is also applied in the Philippines, because we were former a U.S. colony, and we had adopted many of the laws on the books when we were still a U.S. colony. The Miranda rule that is applied there as much as it is applied here. Is that correct?
Very strictly, Uncle Sam.
And I could imagine.
And cases can be dismissed for failure to
Yes.
comply with the Miranda doctrine.
Yes.
It's the United States versus Miranda case.
Yeah, it was an Arizona case. I believe that where that it really was a legal mandate that the person had to be informed of their rights.
And failure to comply with that technicality, cases can be
Yeah,
dismissed.
That is
It's
true,
a
I
mere
agree.
technicality, but it's the bottom line of how one should be put to trial.
That's right. Okay. So we're almost out of time. Again, Attorney Faye Singson, thank you for being on our show. We do truly appreciate you, and we want to wish you a nice, safe trip back to Manila.
Thank you again for having me.
Thank you for being with us. We're gonna take a commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
With the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
That's it for today, folks. Please join us again in our next episode of The Pulse. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould.
And I'm Sam Buban. In behalf of Emmy and the Pulse crew, we wish you a blessed week. See you on the next episode.